Hi everyone. In today's lesson, we're going to review the uses of the verb tener. Now, if you remember, the verb tener generally means to have. Now, the forms of the verb tener are as follows. The yo form is tengo, tú form, tienes, el a usted form, tiene, nosotros tenemos, vosotros tenéis, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes tienen. So again, tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tienen. Now make sure if this doesn't look familiar to you or if you don't remember this very well that you write it down. Okay, so we use tener to talk about what we have. So for example, yo tengo un perro, se llama Madison. Y aquí es mi perro. Mi hermana tiene un coche nuevo. My sister has a new car. Los estudiantes tienen sus libros de español. The students have their Spanish books. So we can also use tener to talk about what we have to do. But when we use tener to say we have to do something, we have to use a specific formula. We're going to use tener plus the word que plus an infinitive verb. Now, if you remember, an infinitive verb is a verb that has not yet been conjugated. So it still ends in either er, ar, or ir. Some examples of infinitive verbs are comer, hablar, estudiar, enseñar, practicar. All of those verbs are infinitive, so they have not yet been conjugated. So there are a couple of examples here. Tengo que estudiar para el examen de matemáticas. So we have our form of the verb tener, tengo, plus que, plus estudiar, which is our infinitive verb. I have to study for the math test. La maestra tiene que enseñar. So we have our subject and our verb, tiene, plus the word que, plus our infinitive verb, enseñar. So if ever you have tener followed by the word que, you need to ensure that you also have an infinitive verb following that. And this means that someone has to do something. It doesn't mean something that they have. So on top of haves and things that you have to do, we also use the verb tener to talk about age. So for example, mi madre es joven, tiene 44 años. My mom is young, she is only 44 years old. Los estudiantes tienen 16 años. So the students are 16. Literally, it means the students have 16 years. Now remember, you have to have that tilde above the N in años, okay, in order to make it mean years. Okay, so make sure that you are including that tilde as well as every other accent mark that belongs on any of the words. On top of age, we use tener to talk about hair and eye color. For example, mis primos tienen ojos castaños. My cousins have brown eyes. El niño tiene pelo rubio. The boy has blonde hair. Remember though, with rubio and castaño, we're going to use tener. But remember that the word pelirrojo or pelirroja, which means redhead or red-haired, is used with the verb ser, and it is not used with the verb tener like the other hair colors. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, we have some phrases that use tener that they don't really have the word to have in them, but instead they have the words to be. But we still have to use the verb tener. These just need to be memorized. So the first one, to be hot, is tener calor. For example, if it was hot outside and I was sweating, I might say, tengo calor. You use tener with the phrase to be cold, tener frío. So if it were winter, the students might say, tenemos frío. You use tener with the phrase to be hungry, tener hambre. With the phrase to be lucky, tener suerte. You also use tener with the phrase to be thirsty, tener sed. And finally, you use tener with the phrase to be in a hurry, which is tener prisa. So you always conjugate the verb tener the same, but it sometimes has different meanings in sentences. So make sure that you are memorizing these phrases and you're cautious of which verbs you're using. Please write down anything that you think that you need to write down. Rewind or pause the video at any time if you need to, and go ahead and ask me any questions that you have.